Hello, everybody. I'm Danny Rodriguez, and welcome to our group's podcast. On this episode, we're going to talk about crowdfunding and investigate whether or not it's a feasible option for raising funds for capital budget projects. Joining me are the usual suspects, Holly, Ashley, and Eric. To answer our question, we each examined a campaign on the crowdfunding site Fundly. We determined whether a campaign was successful based on three factors: marketing prior to launching the campaign, price setting, and building social capital. Before we get into our individual analysis, let's learn more about Fundly from our friend Ashley.
Thanks, Danny. Fundly harnesses the power of social sharing and networks for donation-based funding from friends, family, peers, and other donors. They make it simple to organize and start a fundraising campaign. Once you register a Fundly account, you can start creating a campaign page and begin sharing. Popular categories include individual medical needs, nonprofits, kids and families in need, and schools and education causes. Categories to cover in your fundraiser include why you're asking for support, where the donations will go, and background about you or the organization you're fundraising for. Anyone, domestic or international, can be a donor to a Fundly campaign with a minimum donation of $1. Once your Fundly campaign starts to receive donations, you can request a withdrawal at any time without affecting the progress meter displayed on the campaign, showing how close you are to meeting your goal. The movement of the money is managed by a third-party online payment platform called Stripe. Fundly does charge a flat 4.9% fee of raised funds, and Stripe charges a 2.9% credit card processing fee and 30-cent per transaction fee. Fundly doesn't charge a fee if you fail to meet your campaign goal by the end of the timeline. Fair warning though, Fundly does collect information from its users and their activities on the site. The average crowdfunding campaign donations are around $88, with crowdfunding campaigns raising over $34 billion globally. With his individual analysis of a Fundly campaign, here's Eric.
Thanks, Ashley. Operation Border Command, also known as OBC, is a group formed by U.S. Army veterans who claim there are hundreds of people entering our country illegally every day. And they're bringing illegal guns and drugs with them. OBC is looking to raise money to lead a 2,000-mile, 20-day live streaming investigation along our U.S. southern border. My initial thoughts on this page was that it was interesting, and it seemed to be pretty well put together. The video on their campaign page clearly outlines the purpose of the group and tells you several ways that you can help their cause, including a link to their webpage and several links to other forms of donation, including where to mail a personal check. At the time of this analysis, the group had raised almost $15,000 of the $20,000 they are seeking. Their website states that the group launched a small 1 to 2 day investigation in April that captured over 500,000 viewers. This was done to sample if there was adequate interest to make their campaign successful. According to their website, Team OBC will produce 5 to 10 hours of daily footage, which is streamed live to OBC's control room, and then they distribute it to the viewers in a news-style format. Now that we've given a brief overview of OBC's Fundly campaign, the question still remains: was it successful? I would say, based on our evaluation criteria in the literature review section, this campaign is a success, and here's why. The group tested the market this past April on a short 2-day documentary, which attracted 500,000 viewers. This proves that customers are interested in the campaign and would donate for a much longer documentary. The OBC team compiled a list of items they would need to make this campaign successful and priced the donation amounts accordingly. The campaign uses several methods to attract potential investors, such as Facebook, Twitter, email, and a campaign website link. The site offers you the option to share their campaign on your Facebook or Twitter page, further increasing the campaign's exposure and donation potential. At the time of this analysis, the page had 322 donors and 344 supporters, which means the campaign has a 96.3 supporter to donation rate, which is huge. This means that those who support this cause are very likely to donate. In conclusion, while the crowdfunding campaign is still short of its overall donation goal, the campaign objective can still be completed if the funds are not all raised. Based on the high percentage of donations, I think the group will have no problem reaching their donation goal. The group is doing an adequate job promoting the project on social media and with the use of political figures. In addition to crowdfunding, the group makes it very convenient to donate through several options, which, as mentioned before, include a personal check. The crowdfunding page is full of information about the campaign, and it even encourages you to contact them if you would like any additional information regarding their campaign. And now, with her individual analysis of a Fundly campaign, let's toss it over to Holly.
Thanks, Eric. The Tree of Life synagogue shooting occurred on October 27, 2018 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This tragedy took the lives of 11 people and injured 7 more. The impact of this crime was not only felt locally, but also on a national level. Many people across the country reached out wanting to help the victims and their families. Many charitable campaigns were established to help raise money for the families of the victims for burial costs, medical expenses, and needed repairs to the synagogue. The charitable campaign I analyzed was the Fundly campaign for the Tree of Life synagogue shooting, which was posted 11 months ago, immediately following the tragedy. The campaign was organized by Reed Cantor, a former Pittsburgh citizen. He wanted to raise $3,500 for the proceeds to go to, and I quote, "the families of the victims of the awful tragedy at the Tree of Life synagogue in my home city. Please help us help these families and honor their legacies." Reed had an overwhelming response, raising over $3,000 in the first 48 hours of the campaign and hitting his initial goal of $3,500 in 36 hours. By the end of his campaign, on Thanksgiving of 2018, Reed announced that he raised a total of $7,917. In total, Reed had 85 donors on Fundly and 1 outside private donation from his employer. This campaign was highly successful due to several factors. First, by setting an attainable total goal, Reed's success rate for the campaign was more feasible. Next, the timing of his proposal helped with the success because Reed had to reach the goal quickly. Reed set his campaign up immediately following the tragedy and only ran it for a month. He relied on the generosity of the people willing to help those in need. Also, Reed presented updates to his campaign frequently. Reed was not political and solely sought to help the victims. He did a great job updating the people who were interested in the cause and those who had already donated. I believe this helped the donors and potential donors feel confident that Reed's intentions to help the families of the victims were genuine. After any tragedy, people become more generous and are willing to donate for a good cause and to help those in need. Reed's goal of $3,500 was strongly possible with the timing of the tragedy and the timing of his campaign. Overall, Reed's proposal for the donation to the Tree of Life synagogue tragedy was well-timed and well-executed. With his individual analysis of a Fundly campaign, let's go back to Danny.
Thanks, Holly. For my individual analysis, I selected the Fundly proposal entitled Paul's Run Unity Mosaic. The campaign is looking to raise funds for their art project. My initial thoughts of the Paul's Run Unity Mosaic page on the Fundly site was that it was properly laid out and shared the familiar attributes of a successful crowdfunding campaign. A major aspect of crowdfunding is the video that is attached to the project's page. This video introduces potential investors to the founders of the project, as well as communicates the project's goals. But was that enough for it to be considered a successful campaign based on our criteria of success? Unfortunately, the answer is no. To begin with, it doesn't appear that the campaign was marketed much prior to its launch on Fundly. Marketing the project prior to launch gives the founders the ability to gauge the investor pool and help the founders identify which specific crowdfunding site best suits the project. Because the Paul's Run Unity Mosaic campaign reads more as a creative endeavor, I wonder if a site like Indiegogo or Kickstarter would have connected them to more like-minded investors. The second criteria we identified was setting the appropriate price for the project. This project set their price at $16,000, but was only able to raise about 50% of that goal, compiling a total of $7,296. After searching through Paul's Run's social media post, this appears to be their very first ever experience with raising funds via a crowdfunding platform. A smaller amount, especially if this is your first attempt at crowdfunding, is more attainable and helps build up a founder's reputation as credible. The third and final criteria we determined that allows for a successful crowdfunding campaign was the ability of the founder to connect with investors mostly through social media. For this campaign, there were 0 comments listed under the comments section on their Fundly page, and I was only able to find 25 social media posts in regard to this specific project. While the project's social media posts shared pictures of progress, the founder fell short engaging with investors. And now, with her individual analysis on a Fundly campaign, let's go back to Ashley.
Thanks, Danny. PCS, Post-Concussion Syndrome Sickness Fund, is a Fundly campaign started by Chaim Wellis Strasser from Melbourne, Australia, over a year ago. This personal fundraiser is to raise money for the medical condition, post-concussion syndrome, that Chaim has been diagnosed with to fund his medical costs since he's not able to work. The campaign has 85 days left with a fundraising goal of 25,000 Australian dollars. And at the time of this analysis, he has raised $19,319 from 112 donors. The initial funding request is descriptive and provides ample background on why he's fundraising and how the money will be used. Chaim is Facebook verified through Fundly, which helps validate the legitimacy of the person and their campaign on the site. The campaign is compelling because Chaim's story and his emphasis is not only on raising funds, but bringing awareness to the condition and other people affected by it. Based on the results of the campaign so far and the evaluation criteria depicted in our literature review section, this campaign is a success. The campaign is using social capital to target donors and gain support through sharing on social media. This method was successful for this campaign because the majority of people donating seem to be in Chaim's direct network. Comments left with some of the donations indicate they know him, things like "We love you, Chaim" and "Feel good, legend." He has continued to share over the past year. The updates allow Chaim to reshare his campaign to potentially gain new or repeat donors and update previous donors on how their funds are being used to aid in his recovery. The supporter to donor ratio is strong, with 112 of the 115 supporters also donating to the fundraiser. With 85 days left in the campaign and $5,681 left to raise at the time of this analysis, I don't think that the PCS Sickness Fund campaign will reach the fundraising goal of $25,000 by the final day. Donations have significantly decreased over the past year, with only 8 donations being made in the past 11 months. I think the biggest strength of this campaign is Chaim's social network, but it's also his weakness. The campaign had such a long timeline for raising the funds, and at this point, his direct network has been tapped. For the campaign to meet the goal, Chaim would need to share outside of his network. This would allow the campaign to gain new visibility and a new network of donors. So although I don't think the campaign will reach its goal, I would still consider it a success. Chaim was able to raise about 77% from his direct social network and donors on the Fundly site. The consistent updates, detailed description of the campaign on the crowdfunding page, and social media engaged people and compelled them to donate.
Thanks, Ashley. In conclusion, while we have determined that crowdfunding has the potential to become a very successful endeavor for the investor and the organizer, many of these crowdfunding sites are not regulated, and it is important to note that there is risk involved due to the uncertainty of certain campaigns. It is very important for investors to thoroughly research the campaigns to the best of their ability to ensure they are making a conscious decision. Additionally, as a campaign organizer, it is important to gain as much initial exposure as possible in order to conduct an accurate sample to determine if the campaign interest will be stable for an extended duration before making a significant investment. On behalf of Ashley, Holly, Eric, and myself, Danny, thanks for tuning in.